Sahana vavatu, Sahanau bhunaktu, Sahaviyam karavavahai, Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. $25 to the end, please.
Labhante brahma nirvanam rishayah kshina kalmashaha छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः सर्वभूतहिते रताः कामक्रोधवियुक्तानां यतीनां यतचेतसाम् अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं वर्तते विदितात्मनाम् स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यान् चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिः मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः यः सदा मुक्त एव सः भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति.
Yesterday we concluded with the 3 paths that would ultimately lead you to realizing your own self. And I'll put it back on the screen for you so you understand. Karma Yoga at the level of the physical body, Bhakti Yoga at the level of the mind and feelings, Jnana Yoga for the intellect. Why these 3 yogas? Because you have 3 equipments. That's all you have. And every aspect of your personality must cooperate so that you move in progression. Now, if some aspect of your personality does not cooperate, there will be conflict within, and that will prevent you from progressing on the path. So, at the physical level, we talked about karma briefly yesterday. We just said that it is an attitude of service and sacrifice. That's all you have to bring into every action that you perform. So it's not difficult, but initially it may not be easy because you have to be conscious. It's so easy to be self-centered. It's so difficult to be conscious of others' needs. So you need to train yourself. See, even if you are living in an ashram, I told you, even if you're in a temple 24 hours, that does not assure you of this discipline unless you put in conscious effort. So these disciplines need to be followed by anybody who's interested in their own evolution. Like we spoke very basics. A very basic understanding is you need to be a better human. That's acceptable to all of us. Because we all understand that nobody is perfect. Since we are not perfect, should we not be concerned about how to improve ourselves? It's natural. So where do we go wrong? Now you need not sit and find out what your faults are and, be disappointed that you have this negativity or that negativity. Now you will just become cynical. You become unnecessarily worried. Oh, I'm not such a good person. No, don't worry about that. What we need to do is, since it is acceptable that we are not perfect, it means we need to put in effort to become better humans. How do we do it? 3 parts. So at the physical level, when you perform actions, check as much as you can. Suppose now that you're conscious, you make a very sincere effort that I must be conscious of how I act. Whenever it occurs to you, you should try and exercise this effort and find out whether you are doing whatever you're doing for the sake of others or just to please yourself. So you go to, a simple thing is, the family decides, let's go on a holiday. All right, so you decide to go on a holiday. So who's to decide where to go? Now, each one could be self-centered. Let's go to this place. Every time you decide, this time let me decide. By the time the family members decide to go for a holiday, everybody's had a fight. That's the beginning of the holiday. Huh? If only each one says, all right, let the other person have, doesn't matter. That ability to let go. Now immediately you'll say, every time I do it, nobody cares for me. Instantly you'll think of yourself. Even as the suggestion is given, you say, yeah, I tried it, but they are very happy. They will say, all right, you keep quiet, we'll decide. And that is your worry. So therefore you try to emphasize. Doesn't matter. See, the law is, if you are genuinely unselfish, just because you say, all right, you people decide, doesn't mean you're unselfish. You have no energy to fight. That's why you give up. Okay, Baba, you decide and tell me. All right, whenever you people decide, let me know. So it's with grudge that you say yes. And that does not count as unselfishness. When you are unselfish, you genuinely don't mind somebody else taking the call. Yes, you do. I'm okay. Some place we are going, doesn't matter where we're going. Even if you have a preference, that willingness to sacrifice, that is what we're talking about. That's why we say it's not easy. Because somewhere down the line you want to emphasize, but you have no choice. So if you consciously think on those lines, let's say out of 10 actions, maybe 1 or 2 actions will be sacrificial. The rest will be what you are always doing. But that awareness, that conscious effort will slowly influence from 2 to 3 and 4 and 5, 6. Predominantly you can become unselfish. That's the way to go. And the beauty of this quality is, the more unselfish you are, the world returns the compliment. It is not possible that you are so unselfish and nobody cares for you. Impossible. You're flouting the law. The law is, the world returns whatever you do. This is a law. So if you say, I have led such a life of sacrifice and service, but nobody cares for me, examine your actions again. Something's wrong. It's not possible. It's like a mirror. Whatever you are, the world returns. So that is how you will need to put into practice. Karma Yoga, of course, the whole of chapter 3 talks about karma. I'm just putting in a simple way that you can understand and implement straight away. Bhakti, that's where we were yesterday. See, people have strange understanding of what bhakti is. Bhakti means we must do all the pujas, follow all the rituals, go to all the temples, places of worship, and do exactly what you are told to do. Then you have bhakti. And there are some people who are confused about bhakti because they say, now which God to please? There are so many gods and goddesses. If you are a Hindu, God be with you. Because how many gods and goddesses? So there are in homes, the puja, the place of worship, where they have pictures of all gods and goddesses. Because in case one god gets angry, then what do we do? And then the problem is in the puja room, where to place the gods. If we put this god on the higher side, other god on the lower side, then that god may get angry. It's a problem. Because we don't know how to do it. And then there are others who say, not only Hindu gods, we must have Christ and we must have the cross and crescent and every possible religion packed into one place so nobody gets angry. And we believe that is devotion. Oh gods, all the gods, wherever you are, whoever you are, we are trying to please you, so please take care of us. We believe that is devotion. Now, we've got our own concepts, yet devotion is very simple. You can go anywhere or you need not go anywhere. That doesn't determine your devotion. The beautiful poem, Abu Ben Adam, I told you yesterday. So he says, may his tribe increase. Awoke one night from a deep dream of peace and saw within the moonlight in his room an angel writing in a book of gold. You get the picture? So Abu Ben Adam was sleeping and he woke up from his sleep and found an angel writing in a book of gold. So Abu asked the angel, what writest thou? The names of those who love the Lord. Meaning all those who go to temples, church, mosque, do all the pujas, all their names were there. Because you love God, right? That's why you're there, you're doing it. So he says, I'm writing the names of those who love the Lord. So Abu asked the angel, the vision there, the presence, is my name one? The angel looked up, Abu Ben Adam, first page, nay, not so. Your name is not as one who loves the Lord. So Abu spoke more low, but surely still. He said, pray, write me down as one who loves his fellow men. I may not have gone to a temple, church or mosque. I may not have done those prayers, right? I do admit, but please write me down as one who loves his fellow men. The angel wrote and vanished and came back the next night with a great awakening light and read out the names of those whom the love of Lord had blessed. And lo, Ben Adam's name led all the rest. A simple poem to tell us it's not who all you love, but if you hate one person, that's enough. You don't have bhakti. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, God willing, we'll get there someday. There are 35 qualities of a bhakta in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12. I would suggest you not read it. Because you'll give up bhakti. It's too much. You don't have to go through 35 qualities. First quality you'll give up. And the interesting part of these qualities, not one of them, he says, have you gone to a temple? Do you worship Krishna? Worship me? No. Not one of the qualities of a devotee, he says, did you worship Krishna? Did you go to a temple? No. That is the interesting part. So it is not worshipping the Lord, having his murti and doing puja and changing, all his jewelry. That is not bhakti. Or making the sweetmeats and letting the neighbor's children eat. All that is not bhakti. He says, the first quality, I'm not going to 34. First quality is one who hates no being. That is devotion. Now he puts it in the negative. One who hates no being. So he doesn't ask, do you love? He does not ask that. That is very simple. Everybody loves somebody. But the question is, do you hate anybody? So you may say, I love everyone, but who? The usual, mother-in-law. She's a different species, please. The Bhagavad Gita and all is so nice. You come home and see how she talks. If you give her milk, what will come out is poison. How is that possible? But that is a specimen. How can you like such a person? One who hates no being. Full stop. If you don't pass the first test, out. You're not a bhakta. You may say, I'm a bhakta. The Lord has to accept. No? So 35 qualities. That's why I said it's a very severe test. A true bhakta will understand what I'm talking. 35 qualities. First quality is this. So, bhakti yoga. So you imagine how much hatred you have. You may not have hatred, contempt. You feel superior, others are inferior. So the difference is, that itself is enough that you do not have bhakti. You can do all the glorious things you want. But that is not bhakti. So, purifying your emotions. That's what it is. Not bearing anything negative for anybody. Bhakti yoga. And then jnana yoga, the ability to see unity in the diversity. The ability to live and let live. Yes, you have to live. There are others also who have to live in this world. You are not the standard. I am correct, everybody else is wrong. You can't do that because others have to live. So that attitude is to live and let live. Our policy is live and let die. All the others must go, I must live. Why? Because I'm correct, because I'm good. And you may be good. You may be right. But this world is an admixture of right and wrong, good and bad. If Christ and Krishna, Muhammad and Buddha did not change the world, what makes you think that you can? So the world will be what it is, dvandvas, pairs and pairs of opposites. That is what the world will be. So then your question will be, should we watch people do anything they want? No. If you think you should do something to change something in the world, by all means do it. Not with an idea of correcting the world. The great Swami Ramatirtha, he once said, correcting the world is like straightening a dog's tail. You know, if you hold the dog's tail, it's straight. But let go, it will go back to exactly what it was. So that doesn't mean anyway people are destroying themselves, let them go. No. If you think you should do something, please do it. By all means. Not with an idea of correcting the world, but making your humble contribution and walking away. No claims. That is what these masters did. They gave the greatest knowledge and walked away. That's all. They did not sit here and emphasize and try to force you to follow them. They did not do that. They only placed the knowledge before you. It's up to you to take it up. So, these are the three disciplines. When you do that, it is impossible that this world can ever disturb you because your thoughts are on something higher. So, all the bulk of desires keep dissolving. They get eradicated. So, the less number of desires you have, the more introvert you become because your mind is available to you. Then you are fit for concentration. So concentration, when we say, the best way to understand is with an example. Why we say this is a process. You cannot meditate unless and until you have fair amount of concentration, general concentration. Whatever you do, you should be able to concentrate. Now, if you don't have that, the mind is not disciplined. And if your mind is not disciplined, you cannot go to that final state. So, imagine there's a target. You understand target with concentric circles and there's a bull's eye. in the center. So when you learn to shoot a target, first time a person takes a gun and tries to shoot a target, when they train, they may not even hit the target. Their stance is perfect, the aim seems to be perfect, but they pull the trigger, the bullet hits somewhere else, outside. That's why in the shooting ranges, very far from the main city, for sheer safety, because nobody hits properly, the target. So it must be clear for these people to learn how to hit the target. So after, let's say, months and months of practice, then when they take aim and shoot the target, they hit somewhere on the target. That itself is a big thrill, because after long practice, they are able to hit the target each time they shoot. You understand the progress being made? How difficult it is to hit at a point. Now, that ability to hit the target each time, somewhere on the target, you could compare it with concentration. If you're not even able to hit the target, even though you take a perfect stance and aim and shoot, means you don't even have concentration. It takes time to be able to get that control. And then, when you're able to hit the target each time, you qualify to aim for bullseye. So then when you hit, sometimes you hit bullseye. Not always. But imagine a person who can take aim and hit bullseye each time. That is the power of meditation. Now I'm mentioning all this because today is the last day. Because if I say meditation you can't do so easily, nobody will come back to the class. Why? Because the whole world is practicing meditation. Who are you to say? Today I can take my chances. I don't expect you to come back tomorrow. Right? So now you get the picture. If you have offloaded your desires sufficiently, you will be able to concentrate on anything. See, if you're sitting in this classroom, nothing will distract you. No noise, no nothing. You're focused. Why? Because you've come to study or whatever, learn. That is the ability to concentrate. Otherwise, slightest disturbance, you'll be distracted. So even if there's a disturbance, how are you connected? If somebody walks in, all the heads will turn. Now, how are you connected with that person? Are you going to get up and give your seat? Or are you expecting the person? Nothing. It's just a distraction. Just a little movement and the mind goes. It's lack of concentration. But if you are able to concentrate, nothing will distract you. That can happen here in this classroom. And wherever you go, that ability stays with you. If you ask what is concentration, it's very simple. See, the mind is a flow of thought. It's like a water flowing in a river. Constantly thoughts are flowing right now in your mind. That is your mind. That's the nature of the mind. The intellect is like the banks of the river. So if the intellect is strong, it guides the flow of water. If the banks are weak, the same water can create a flood and destroy the fields. So concentration is the ability of the intellect to keep the mind in a field of thought. This field now that we are keeping in this classroom is the field of philosophy or Bhagavad Gita or higher values, whatever it is. We are talking about these thoughts. There are very many thoughts we are giving in this classroom. It's not one thought, many. But within this field, we're not talking medicine, we're not talking business, we're not talking other subjects. We're only talking philosophy. We're not talking about your home, we're not talking about your friends, because the mind will go in various ways. To keep your mind in this field of inquiry, you need an intellect. And if you do that successfully, you've got concentration. Now, meditation is the ability of the intellect to keep the mind focused on a single thought, to the exclusion of all other thoughts. So I'll come to that at the end, just to demonstrate to you how it happens. But this much, if you remember, is sufficient. Meditation is the art of the intellect focusing the mind on a single thought. Concentration is field of thoughts. So the thoughts should remain in philosophy, not move to business, not move to medicine, not move to anything else. It's maintained here, contained here, but it's a larger circle. Whereas meditation is the intellect focusing the mind on a single thought. That will be possible only when your desires are completely under control. You've offloaded most of your desires. It's only a few left. Then you will have the ability. So in the height of meditation, when you stop the thought flow, so you keep chanting the mantra, Om, Om, you keep chanting. So that is the flow, single thought. And the intellect is conscious of the thought. Now when the mind stops the chant at a point, the assumption is the last thought that you had is dissolved. That means the mind is extinct, because the mind is a flow of thought. If the thought is extinct, mind is gone. There's no mind. Then the intellect's job is to distinguish between sound and silence. Sound and silence. Because that is the job of the intellect. Intellect discriminates. Right from wrong, good from bad. Constantly it knows. You understand, don't understand. This is the job of the intellect. So it keeps awareing between the sound Om and silence. Sound Om and silence. So since the mind stopped, the sound is gone. There is nothing to distinguish. Intellect goes. Intellect is dissolved. And when mind and intellect are dissolved, you reach that higher state, which is your own self. I'm only giving you a little bit today. You don't have to understand everything, but at least you know, oh, there is a process. It takes time, there is a process, and anyone can get there. But you must first cover these three. Do you hate anybody? You say, yes, no chance of going that way. So let's start from where we are. What sort of actions are we performing? Make sure that they are not self-centered. So these are the practical disciplines that you can follow. And if you keep doing it, you don't have to worry about concentration and meditation. It is automatic. In fact, you do not practice meditation. You become meditative. You become contemplative. It's a natural process. So don't try and force it. What you need to be careful about is these three disciplines. That's more than enough. And if you survive for a whole year, we shall meet again and take up Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation, next year. So until then, we will complete our study for this year. 22nd, please.
Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkayonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkayonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha.
In this verse, he talks about the extroverts and what happens to them. In the next verse, he talks about the introverts. And then he gives us method 1 in 24, method 2 in 25, and in the 26th verse, he gives the state of perfection. I'm only giving you this hierarchy because you must know that it is a very systematic presentation. So now he talks about the extroverts. Extroverts, you remember the bhogis, people who are out in the world. For the enjoyments that are born of contacts are only wombs of sorrow. They have a beginning and an end. O Kaunteya, Arjuna, the wise one does not rejoice in them. So now he's talking about what happens to people who are contacting the world, who are all the time chasing happiness in the world. He says, contact-born pleasures. No doubt it's a pleasure, but it has a shelf life. It doesn't last. So you need the object. Without the object, you're not happy. And you don't know if the object is available. Even in relationships, you want your spouse to cater to you all the time. That's why you got together. But now you find it's not the same catering. So you're disappointed. Because your mind may change, or the other person's mind is also subject to change. So in this situation, you are trying to eke out happiness. So that is why people, in spite of having long-standing relationships, sometimes it breaks. Because that expectation is so high, the disappointment is so much that you can't take it anymore. You know, how do you describe this? How do you understand that people change their minds? And yet, you would have signed up because you saw something. You got that pleasure. So there was this couple, and they were sleeping at night. Suddenly, the wife woke up in the middle of the night and found that the husband was not there in bed. So she's wondering where this man has gone middle of the night. So she walked around and then came down the steps and saw he was sitting in the pantry with a cup of coffee, middle of the night, and looking into vacant air with a cup of coffee. She thought, big problem, what happened? She said, what happened? What are you doing here? She says, no, I was just thinking. Thinking about what? In the middle of the night. You remember 20 years ago what happened? What happened 20 years ago? Arey, both of us were in the park, na? Ah, yes, yes. And your father came. He caught us. So the wife was very thrilled. Oh, he's talking about, thinking about us, the marriage and all that 20 years back. So she sat down next to him, thinking how nice, at least now he's thinking of us, wanting to listen to the story middle of the night. He said, we were sitting in the park and your father caught us. Yes, yes, I remember. And then he held a gun at my head and said, either you marry my daughter or you will go to jail for 20 years. I said, yes, today I would have been released. What made him take that choice? After 20 years, he's still thinking. Poor man. Why? Because minds change. This is what he's trying to say. These contact-born pleasures are wombs of sorrow. Wombs of sorrow, meaning you don't see the sorrow content. It is seen much later. Too late, too late. Now, that doesn't mean you don't contact anybody. That's not the point made here. You must understand it's a package. Whoever you meet, even if you get the greatest pleasure, you must understand it is a package deal. You will find something later. Be prepared. Then you're not disappointed. So if you think it's going to be a bed of roses, then you're living in an imaginary world. That's all he's saying. And then he says, all contact-born pleasures are fleeting and they have an end. This is the nature of the world. So the wise do not rejoice in them means it's not that the wise don't enjoy. The wise understand this truth and are not disappointed when things change. That is something anybody can develop, that understanding, so you will not be disappointed. Now the introverts.
Shaknoti haiva yasodhum praksharira vimokshanat kama krodhodbhavam vegam Sayuktas sasukhi naraha Shaknoti haiva yasodhum Praksharira vimokshanat Kama krodhodbhavam vegam Sayuktas sasukhi naraha.
He who is able to withstand even here, before liberation from the body, the force arising from desire and anger, he is a yogi, he is a happy man. So we are talking about the introverts now. The extroverts are those who court the world and are disappointed. That is what is happening with the extroverts. The introverts are those who are able to withstand sodum. What? The vega. Vega is the force. So what is the difference? It's not that the introverts don't enjoy, but that force of desire, that vegam that comes out, that impulse, you know, the whole world glorifies that impulse and says, you got to fall in love. They glorify it, not realizing it's a force that is coming out of you, which has to be contained. The force is nothing but the mind, the flow of thoughts. Nothing wrong with that force per se, but he says, he who is able to withstand, meaning the intellect must direct that force. Is this what I want to do? Then do it. But if the intellect does not play a role at all, it's completely drowned by the emotion. Let's not forget we are humans. We're not animals. So someday the intellect will surface. That is when you start thinking. It's too late. So you must have your intellect available to you at all times. See, all right, simple question. Do you not have regrets? Is there anybody who's never had any regret in their lives? Something you have regretted in your life. Now, what is interesting to know about regret? What does regret mean? Regret means you don't approve of what you did. I should not have done that. I should not have said that. Or something. So regret means you don't approve of what you did. See, if I come and say, look, I don't approve of what you did, you will say that's your problem. Rightly. If somebody else comes and tells you I don't approve, why would you be affected? You say, I'm happy. What's your problem? Right. But regret means you don't approve of what you did. Then the natural question to you will be, then why did you do it? If you don't approve of what you did, why did you do it? The answer is, your intellect was not available before the action. Your intellect is available to you after the action. So all that he's saying here is, to withstand that force of emotion, your intellect has to be available. And that is the way an introvert functions. This is the difference between extroverts and introverts. So he who is able to withstand even here before liberation, well before liberation, the force arising from desire and anger. The desire and anger are the same thought flow. The moment you succumb to desire, when desire is interrupted, you become angry. So some people ask, how do I control anger? Please find out what desire is being interrupted. Nobody can experience anger without some desire being interrupted. A lady is very angry. Why? Some visitors constantly come home. She's angry with these visitations. It's not the visitors, because she's a nice person. It's not that she doesn't like visitors. She doesn't like the house to be unclean. And when the visitors come, house becomes unclean, therefore she is angry. The anger is not because of visitors, because that desire to be clean is interrupted. If only she can analyze, okay, it's not a sterile home. People will come and dirty, I've got to clean it up. If she only understands that, that desire will come under control, there will not be anger. So anybody experiencing anger you must understand it stems from some desire which is being interrupted. That's all. So if you can trace it down and analyze it and break it up with your intellect, you should be able to control the force of that desire. Such a person is a yogi, he is a happy person. Next verse.
Yontas sukhontara ramaha tathantar jyotirevayah sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodhigacchati. Yontas sukhontara ramaha tathantar jyotirevayah sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodhigacchati.
So this verse is addressed to advanced seekers who can take on internal sadhana, internal discipline. The next verse is directed to people who are not yet fully established. So it's more external sadhanas. So it's very scientifically designed, each verse. Now he says, addressed to more advanced seekers, he who is happy within, who rejoices within, who is illumined within, that yogi alone, becoming Brahman, gains the bliss of Brahman. So you see, it's for an advanced seeker. So all he's saying is, look, we did begin this whole session with saying that we as humans, we have an opportunity. We have a choice. So it's a human being alone who can choose their own lives. To be happy or unhappy is your choice. It's not the world. It's what you choose to be. This is the ability of a human. Now you've got 2 eyes to see. You may close it and say, I have no eyes. I can't see. Who asked you to close it? You've got eyes. You've got to use it. Now this is automatic. But when it comes to the intellect, we don't understand how to use the intellect. I think I already told you. We've got these few books that are recommended because you've got to learn. You've got to start from where you are. So first of all, you've got to know the value of the intellect and learn to use it. So when you exercise your own intellect, you are able to make right choices in life. The law is, as you think, so you become. Whatever you think, that is what you will become. This is the choice you have. In other words, if you think positive, 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 positive all the time, you become a positive person. If you think negative, negative, negative all the time, you become a negative person. The world being the same, one person says, what a wonderful world. Another person says, horrible world. You know, there's a story, just to drive home this point, as you think, so you become. Krishna called upon 2 persons. I think most of you will know. He first called upon Duryodhana. You know who Duryodhana is? Who was he? Kaurava. What did he represent? Was he a good man or a bad man? A bad, evil-minded person. Okay, we just put that there. Duryodhana was a bad person. And simultaneously, he called Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira, you know, he was a Pandava prince. What was he known for? Righteous. He was a good man. So for all our understanding, 2 persons, bad person, good person, right? Now he told the bad person, Duryodhana, listen, can you do me a favor? He says, what do you want? Can you find me one good person in this world? Please note, he asked Duryodhana to find a good person in the world. That's all? Yes, that's all. Duryodhana went about in the world looking for a good person. Yudhishthira he called and said, find me one bad person in the world. Both of them went looking around in the world and came back and told Krishna, what a job you gave us. Separately, of course. Duryodhana comes and tells Krishna, what a job. You are asking for a good person in this world? What, Krishna? I even went to Nehru Memorial Hall. Not one I found. He is not able to find one good person in the world. That is Duryodhana. Same world. Yudhishthira searched for what? Bad person. He came back unsuccessful. So Krishna, you're asking me to find bad person. Where are the bad people in the world? Huh? Even you will say, wait 1 minute, I've got 2, 3 bad persons. You may have 1 or 2 ideas. You know, this person did bad, that person did bad. Instantly it comes to us. What Peter speaks of Paul speaks more of Peter than of Paul. What you speak of the world speaks more about you than the world. That's what he's saying. The moment you tune into the higher values of life, you will be happy within. You will rejoice within. You will be illumined, enlightened within. Enlightened means it's not a glow. It's a perfect understanding. See, you may say, how impractical this is. Aren't there bad things happening in the world? Should we shut our eyes, shut our ears and sit? Morris Maeterlinck, he puts us to rest. He says, happy and blessed hour when wickedness stands forth revealed, as goodness bereft of a guide. So there will be wickedness, there will be badness in the world, but how do you look at it? It is goodness without a guide. So instantly, there is no hatred, there is no anger. You instantly understand that person is badly guided. So your whole attitude in life changes. Nothing will annoy you, nothing will irritate you, nothing will anger you. But at the same time, you understand you have to do what you have to do. That's all right. But not out of anger and hatred and you're upset and obsessed with doing something. None of that will happen. He says he is happy within, rejoices within, illumined within. That yogi alone, becoming Brahman, gains the bliss of Brahman. That is the highest. But as you go on that path, you get more and more peace and bliss until you hit the highest.
Labhante brahma nirvanam rishayah kshina kalmashaha chinnadvaidhayatatmanaha sarvabhutahite rataha labhante brahma nirvanam rishayah kshina kalmashaha chinnadvaidhayatatmanaha sarvabhutahite rataha.
Sages attain the bliss of Brahman whose sins have been destroyed, whose dualities are destroyed, who are self-controlled, who revel in the welfare of all beings. Now he sums it all up in this verse. Sages attain the bliss of Brahman. So those people who have been following this discipline, as we have described, follow the path, they hit upon the highest state of perfection. They attain the bliss of Brahman. This is poetry, only saying you become self-realized. How? What is the method? First of all, he says, sins have been destroyed. Sins, again, in the context means mental agitations. Now, why do you have mental agitations? Why does anybody have mental agitations? Mental agitations are caused by unfulfilled desires. That's the only reason. When your desires are not satisfied, you are agitated. You analyze, sit down and analyze. Why am I agitated now? You will find it. Some desire is not satisfied. So this is the cause of mental agitations. Now when you do karma yoga, we already covered that, just act acting in this world, not to satisfy your desires, not merely to satisfy desires, but doing what you ought to do. Day by day, moment by moment. You're sitting here now. Okay, you had a desire, you came here. Some desire brought you here. All right. Having come here, just do what you ought to do, whether you like it or not. See, one idea you may like, another idea you may not like. Doesn't matter. It's like a student going to university. He may like one subject, may not like the other subject, but it's a package. So you must apply yourself in every class that you attend in university. Then you will study, progress, and attain a certificate. But if you cut class, I don't like this class, I don't like this professor, I don't want to do it, what's the point in going to a university? Because you will not attain what you're supposed to attain. So if that is understandable, the same thing with relation to your life. Let's say this whole world is a university. And all the roles that you play in your life, because everyone has many roles to play. Each role is attending a class. I like the role of a wife. I don't like the role of a daughter-in-law. Too bad. You have to play both. Now, you may not like it, but you have to play it. Or you like the role of a mother, not the wife. You have to play both the roles. Just because you don't like that role doesn't mean it justifies you are not playing the role properly. If you do that, then in this university of life, you will not progress. You will not attain anything. You will fail and fail and fail. And every time you fail, you will be agitated. So, everyone has many roles to play. Whether you like it or not, you better learn to play these roles properly. So, that is karma yoga. So, when you do these actions properly, your sins are destroyed. You learn to enjoy what you have to do. Some roles are easy, some roles are tough. That is all. But there's nothing that you will hate, nothing that you love to do. Some things you'll avoid. You will never get into that frame of mind. So that is karma yoga. He covers that. Then whose dualities are destroyed by jnana yoga. See, the intellect is able to distinguish between right and wrong, good and bad. Today we get affected. We like joy, we hate sorrow. So this is natural, but you don't have to jump with joy or sink with sorrow. Understanding fully well, both will visit you. So it's like a procession. Hello, joy, come, please. Come to our home. You never come home. Please come, please come. What? Joy. Visitor. And then give a cup of tea and thank you very much. Why? Joy has to go. Sorrow is waiting. So sorrow comes. Please, Aiye, you are at home all the time. You never leave my home. Some guests, they don't go. They just stay. So sorrow is like that. It stays. You get used to it. Right? Okay, give sorrow also a cup of tea. Next, one more sorrow is waiting. Come, come. You also come. Take your part and go. If you keep looking at joy and sorrow in this manner, knowing fully well nothing is permanent. See, such a person, the dualities are destroyed. You're not tossed around by these dualities. It doesn't harass you because you have knowledge, jnana. And then self-controlled. Self-controlled is more a discipline of the mind, because you are not guided by your likes and dislikes. So you can say it is a bhakti yoga, a discipline of the mind. So karma, bhakti, jnana, three are covered. These sages who practice the disciplines, which I have already shown you in the chart, all these verses refer to that chart. The three disciplines will take you right into the path, and then he says, how do you know you are on the right path? How do you know you're going in the right direction? The test is you revel in the welfare of all beings. So there's nobody you will segregate. everyone you're able to identify with when you take on to the spiritual path. So there's no feeling that, look, you come this way, don't go that way. You're worried that people are going some other way. It happens in our faith, Hindu faith. In fact, in all religions, you have this demarcation. So here we have Shaivites and Vaishnavites. So the Shiva followers are looking at the Vishnu followers. Vishnu followers are looking at the Shiva followers. Why is there this difference? Because of demarcation. It's all the same goal. The paths may be different, but the goal is one. And all religions have not one, several demarcations. Why is that happening? Because we are not able to revel in the welfare of all beings. You take your path, we'll meet at the goal. That's all you have to say. No, don't go on that path, come on my path. Why is the need to bring in people? Let them have their freedom. But we should meet in the goal, at the goal, whatever the goal is. So that ability to revel in the welfare is a test that you're on the right path.
Kama krodha viyuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. Kama krodha viyuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam.
For those who are freed from desire and anger, who are self-controlled, who have subdued their mind completely, who have realized the self, the bliss of Brahman resides in them. So now if you see, 22nd we dealt with the extroverts. What happens to them when they contact the world? Wombs of sorrow. They rush after the world, but they lose their pleasures. And they keep seeking in newer avenues, pleasures. So that's what is happening in the lives of extroverts. Introverts don't indulge, they hold that vega, that flow, that force with the intellect. So it's not that they don't feel, but they ensure that the feeling is not overpowering them. They control that feeling and direct the feeling the way they believe is correct. So that these are the introverts. Then we gave that first method for advanced students, for advanced seekers, where they focus on the self alone and function at all levels. Because that is their only interest. But that is for advanced seekers. And then in the 25th we just discussed, maintain the 3 disciplines at all times. If you do that, which is more practical, for those who are on the path, it will lead to the highest. How do you know you're on the right path? You must have that feeling of welfare for all beings. Never should you have any demarcation. My people are good, others are not so good. Never have that. Because each one is going on a path leading to the ultimate. So let them have their freedom, whichever path they choose. That ability to accommodate the interests of one and all is a sure test you're on the right path. Otherwise, you may say, I'm very, very spiritual, I'm very religious, but hate others, intolerant. It cannot be the right path. That's why he's given the test. So that we crossed. And now he's giving us, if you follow 24 and 25, what will happen? So for those who are freed from desire and anger, kama and krodha, meaning the desires have been offloaded with the disciplines. Krodha automatically comes under control because you're not a victim of desire. So these people, yatinam, are self-controlled. The physical body and mind, both are controlled. This is with reference to the world. So your eyes, when you say physical body, what is happening at the body level? Eyes want to see good sights. Ears want to hear good sounds. the senses, you've got 5 senses, constantly rushing into the world. See, the moment you wake up, eyes want to look for something. The tongue wants to have something. The feeling, you got to have comfort. We're not saying it's wrong. It's automatic. But do you have these senses under control, or are you a slave of your own senses? A victim of your own senses? If you don't understand this, in the Viveka Chudamani, which is an introductory text, Adi Shankaracharya says, he cites creatures who have weakness for one sense organ. You understand? We have 5, right? He talks about how weakness for one sense organ can destroy a creature. A fish has a weakness for tongue. That's how the fisherman puts the bait and captures it. It dies. The moth has a weakness for the eye. It goes near the flame and destroys itself. So I'm not going to the details, but he shows how weakness for one sense organ is enough to destroy a creature. Humans as we are, we have weakness for all 5. It's a miracle how we are alive. And the world is constantly tempting us. You know, the neon signs, the advertisements. You watch television, there is more ads than the main program. Deliberate. Because if you use this soap, your skin will become beautiful. If you use this soap, the skin will become beautiful. You use this soap, the skin, it's brainwashing. So when you go to the shop, you ask for that soap. This is the idea of advertisement. There's somebody spending, they're doing research on the way we think, or the average mind thinks. They've done their homework. And that is how, it's not for nothing that they pay so much for advertisement. So you will ask for that product because it's shown again and again and again. You're convinced. And you see that lady who is appearing on the screen never touched that soap. But she's convinced you to buy it. And they pay her for that. This is the way the world works. But innocent as you are, because of weakness, what you see, automatically you go. That's what he's saying. He says there's so much weakness at the physical level. If you're not conscious, where will you land? Right? So he says these are people who have body and mind under control. And the thoughts, he says, yatachetasam. Thoughts are under control. Abhita, when thoughts are completely under control, you're on that path near meditation. Remember? You go all the way. So it's single thought. When you hit that point, Abhita, completely, when the last thought is subdued, they have realized the self. They reach the highest. Then the bliss of Brahman resides in them. So that is the final stage. But up to that point, you will have to exercise control. Starting with the physical body, mind, intellect. And then you get to the ultimate point of meditation. The next 2 verses talks about meditation.
Sparshan kritva bahirbahyan chakshuschaivantare bhruvoho pranapanau samau kritva nasabhyantaracharinav yatendriyamano buddhihi munirmokshaparayanah vigatechhabhayakrodhah yassada mukta eva saha.
So the 27th verse, he says, shutting out external contacts and fixing the gaze as though between the eyebrows, equalizing the flow of incoming and outgoing breaths in the nostrils. And he continues, having the senses, mind, intellect controlled, with liberation as goal, the sage, free from desire, anger, and fear, is verily liberated forever. Now, there's a way of reading these two verses. You can't read it directly. So first of all, let's go back to the 27th verse. The first line is, shutting out external contacts. Now when he says that, you don't take it literally. These external attractions do not enslave you. That's all it means. So nothing in this world is ever going to dictate terms to you. You dictate terms. See, you call for anything. That's all right. And there is no limit. Like we said, in our country, we had Raja Rishis, king sages. They were not just wealthy people, they were kings. But they were Rishis, fully under control. They could be happy sitting on a throne and living in the jungle equally. What happened to Lord Rama? He was happy in the palace. He was happier perhaps in the jungles. It did not make any difference to him. That is that control, self-sufficiency, where you can be placed anywhere, but you are happy. Otherwise, if you have something, you're happy. If you don't have it, you're miserable. That is complete dependence. It's like a creeper. You know, a creeper is a plant, and oak is a plant. Is a tree. Both belong to the plant kingdom. A creeper cannot stand on its own. It needs some support all the time. It has to crawl on something. But a tree stands independently. So there are different types of humans. You could be a creeper, you could be a tree. That choice is yours. So here is a person who shut off external contacts, means he is not dependent upon the world for his happiness. He is self-sufficient. And then you need to go to the next verse. How do you get that stature? When do you become independent? You got to control your senses, mind, intellect. Please understand, this is the Bhagavad Gita talking about meditation. He has repeated, I don't know how many times, you have to control body, mind, intellect. There is no other way. If you have not practiced any of these controls and you sit in the seat of meditation, you may call it meditation, but it is not. Now, who will know? Only you know. I'll presently tell you what I mean. So, having the senses, mind, intellect controlled with liberation as the goal. Please understand, mark this. If you meditate, you will be able to get over hypertension. They say that. If you want to get rid of stress, meditate. Now the Gita says, only as liberation as goal. If you have that as your goal, then you're fit to meditate. Not for hypertension, diabetes, stress relief, do meditation. All right, I'll sign up. Please give me what the method is. Gita is saying, I'm not saying. Like I told you today, I can take all my chances with you. Whatever truths I have to tell you, I'll tell you today. I try to avoid it these 3 days. Just to keep you here, just so that you hear this from the Gita directly. So he's saying, having, first of all, control. What? Senses, mind, intellect. It's not suppression, it's discipline. And when you do that, why are you doing it? To become a better human and reach perfection. That is your goal. Then a person is free from desire, anger, and fear. Fear, again, is an offshoot of desire. So when you get something that you want, you're afraid of losing it. It's an offshoot of desire, anger or fear. So all these are under control. Then go back to verse 27. He says, now you can sit in the seat of meditation. So when you sit in the seat, he says, you got to have devotion. That is symbolized by saying, fixing your gaze as though between your brows. Don't do it literally. Because if you do it, you will be sitting in meditation, and what will happen is you will come out with a headache. Because you're concentrating in the center so much that it gives you a headache. You can't take it literally. When he says fixing your gaze above the brows, means looking upward. upward means a sign of devotion. So when you pray to the Lord, you look up to the heavens as it were, not literally. So it's a sign of devotion. It's a right bhavana when you meditate. And with that, you regularize your breathing. You can't breathe very heavy and meditate. You've got to relax. Your breathing has to be relaxed. Your gaze is fixed. You have everything right for the seat of meditation. Then you concentrate on that single thought to the exclusion of all thoughts. Such a person is verily liberated forever. Meaning, when the last thought is dropped, you realize your own self. But if you do it without preparation, you can straight away do it. It's very easy to teach meditation. Doesn't take long. So you can, you tell them, sit in the right posture, your vertebral column erect, and your eyes are gently closed, your breathing is rhythmic. All that is possible right now in 2 minutes. And then you start chanting. What? Mantra. Repeat. Om, Om. You can go on repeating. Imagine you're sitting by yourself and repeating Om, Om. Only one thought. And you're meditating without preparation. How many times you can repeat? Once, twice, thrice. Om, 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 Home. What happened to those? No, we're meditating. Okay. Om, Om. Somewhere the mind will go. 2-3 times you can repeat. After that, something comes up. Hari, that fellow told me he's going to give the money he didn't give. What are you doing? Meditating. And sometimes, the ladies doing puja in the house, they'll be singing Bhagwan, Govinda, Rama, Krishna, all that is going on. Arey, milk I've kept on the stove. Somebody see the milk. They're supposed to be praying, but the thoughts are somewhere else. It cannot happen that you are able to focus unless you go through all the disciplines. That's all he's saying. But once you go through the disciplines and then sit in the seat of meditation, it's automatic that you reach the highest. And he says, you will be verily liberated forever.
Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvalokamaheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shanti mritchati. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvalokamaheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shanti mritchati.
Here in the last verse he describes the self as that state of perfection as having known me. Me, M is in capital. Whenever a master, a sage, an enlightened person, a prophet uses first person singular, and they all used it, they did not mean the personality Krishna, because he had no such identity. He had only one identity, which is the truth, the reality. So you could easily take off the word me there and put truth, reality. Having known the truth, having known the reality, whatever that is. How do you know this reality? What is the description of this reality and truth? Enjoyer of sacrifices and austerities. So this is a state which you gain through service sacrifice. He is not enjoying sacrifice. He says you can reach me through this method. Not by self-centeredness, but by sacrificial nature. So you get to that state through sacrifice and austerity. Austerity means discipline. You don't have to say, I must hurt myself, I must suffer to get to the highest. That's not the indication. The word austerity means discipline. And discipline we've already seen at the physical level, mental level, intellectual level. the Supreme Lord of the worlds. This truth pervades everything. Supreme Lord of the world means electricity saying, I am the Supreme Lord of all equipments. Meaning there is no equipment that can manifest without me. In that sense, this truth is all pervading. There is no place where this truth is not. In that sense, Supreme Lord of all worlds. All worlds meaning waking, dream, deep sleep. There is the truth pervading. Because you say, right now, I am the waker. When you sleep, you say, I am the dreamer. When you're in deep sleep, I am the deep sleeper. Because it's the same person. I am is the same. The states are different. Similarly, I am seeing is different from I am hearing. They're two different things, but I am is same. So you can take it in any sense you want. Instead of worlds, you can say the Supreme Lord of all experiences. Anything you experience is because of this truth within you. And the friend of all beings, in the sense, a friend gives comfort. An enemy gives discomfort. So this self in you is like a friend. If you go towards the self, you will be comforted. You will be comfortable. If you move away from the self, you will never be comfortable. You will be uncomfortable. You will feel a sense of void. You will feel a sense of incompleteness. You can be the richest person and still feel something is missing. You can be the most powerful person and not feel satisfied. Anything that you achieve in the world outside will not give you the satisfaction that you can get in the self. That is what you're seeking. So he says, as a friend, meaning when you get to the self, then alone will you be satisfied and comfortable. So this is the way the self is described, and such a person, he says, finds peace. So the only way to find peace and happiness is to discover who you essentially are. And you're given this life, which is an opportunity to find yourself in and through your duties and obligations in this world. Om Tat Sat Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama Panchamo Dhyayaha. When we complete a text, we have the humility to believe we have not completed our study, but we shall dedicate ourselves from this day to the study of this literature. With that attitude, we read the first verse together, please. Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha samsasi yachreya etayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Thank you very much. If you'll be seated, I think we have some prasad to distribute.